If you are wanting to restart in your 20s, then this video is for you. Trust me when I say I have restarted a fair few times in my 20s to actually find a career that fulfilled me and genuinely fit my lifestyle, what I wanted and what I wanted to create for myself. But I have had my fair few jobs over my time, careers, odd jobs, businesses that didn't work, and everything in between. So I think I know something or two about starting over, and I really wanted to share these tips with you guys today because I know it's not easy. And when I was in it and when I was actually restarting and failing and trying and doing, I felt awful, honestly. Like I felt lost, I felt isolated, I felt alone, I felt stuck. My friends had gone to uni, they'd done the normal route, or they were happy in the jobs, that they were in. And I almost felt like I was this free spirit that wasn't settling down, quote unquote, that wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. But I also not only can share my own experience, but I also work with so many women all around the world who did in fact do what they were supposed to do and took the safe path, and it really doesn't fulfill them. And they are starting over in their 20s, and I am the person that mentors and guides and supports them. So I think really in this position I'm in now, I have a really good overview of what it takes, why you should restart, and how you can actually go about doing that, because you're gonna most likely have different people's opinions and pressures, and that may be a reason for you why you haven't started over, because you're worried about what people are going to say and going to think, and you feel scared and you feel fear. I've been there, I get it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, you can subscribe, as there's going to be plenty more like this coming your way. So first things first, your 20s is not supposed to be linear. It is not a straight line. I don't know about you, but when I was I think it's conditioned to young women, because when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I used to say, I need to go to school, go to university, find a husband, have a baby, and have a house by the time I'm 23. And if I didn't, I was a failure. For me to be saying that at the age of 10, 11, 12, I think is wild. And it just shows the programming and conditioning. And I'm not the only woman. I've spoken to so many women who had similar goals when they were super young, and then they get to 23, 24, and they're like, yeah, no way. And don't get me wrong, if that's the path you have followed and that's your path, totally fine. But it wasn't my path at that age anyway. I'd love to obviously have a family and that kind of route eventually, but just not right now. But if that's not the path that you really feel aligned with, you shouldn't feel social pressures at 20, 21, 22, 23 years old to do that. You are allowed to experiment with careers. You are allowed to fail. You don't have to study, or you can study and then have a completely different career path and completely pivot from the one that you studied at university. It doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be, I have to make the right choices now because there's no compromise, there's no other option. It's just not true. Speaking from someone, I have literally started a business. I invested thousands of pounds into that, took out loans, my family helped. My family even took out loans, and it didn't work out. And that was soul crushing. I also tried a career in social media management, content, creating content for businesses. I was a waitress. I worked in a coffee shop. I worked in equestrian for years and was a horse groom. I've tried a fair few things, and every time I quit quote unquote. I felt like I was failing, but it's not true. Your 20s don't have to be linear. You don't have to pick one thing at the age of 20, 21, 22, 23, or even 27. Like, honestly, it's not even your early 20s. You don't have to just pick one thing and that's it. I have women who are in my program, the Female Sales Accelerator, and are in their 40s and have just got into high ticket sales and are making 10K plus months. The point is, it's never too late to pivot. You only get one life. You truly do. You get one shot. And I just think life is too short to stick to a plan because it's what everyone else thinks you should do, or stick to a career because it feels safe and you have responsibilities. Your 20s is the time where you have the least liabilities, even if you feel like you do. You have the least liabilities. You should try and you should fail and you should quit and you should give up. And that is totally fine and totally normal. Something that I was really ashamed about for a while is that I didn't have a university degree. And there'll be lots of people watching this who do. And this really is relevant to you as well, because you don't need another degree. You need a skill that pays you for your worth. You need a high income skill. And for a while I was, like I said, I was ashamed. I didn't like to admit it. The education route, quite honestly, the traditional education route, if I will, just wasn't for me. Like, I just never gelled with that confinement, with the one path that you were told you had to follow and you had to hit certain grades because that was connected to your self-worth, so on and so forth. It wasn't for me. And everyone around me did it. So I was ashamed. And when I discovered high ticket sales, because I was lost for a long time trying to search for, well, I'm a failure because I don't have a degree. I'm a failure because I didn't go to university. I'm a failure because I didn't do the traditional path. But when I discovered high ticket sales and I realized the direct correlation between what I put in, the work ethic, which I knew I had. I knew I had work ethic. I knew I had drive. I knew I had passion. If I could just apply that to a high income skill, don't get me wrong, I still needed education for that, but a different type of education. That, when I discovered that that could really help me accelerate to my goals, because my goals was to be financially free. My goals was to be able to travel the world, to be able to work for myself, to be able to not answer to anyone. When I realized my hard work directly correlated to the output, it was game changing for me. And I speak to women all the time in my program who have done the traditional education route, and there's transferable skills there. Just because they're in high ticket sales now, it doesn't mean it's a waste by any means. But their first instinct is to put their university degree on their Loom video or on their resume. And I tell them, not because it's my opinion, just because it's the industry itself, like, let's just remove that. It's not actually beneficial at all. Like, it's not to this industry. It's not going to mean anything to this industry. And for some, it's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Because we've been programmed for so long to think that it means something to everything. And it does to certain careers. And there are definitely careers that need a university degree, and I have nothing against that. But yeah, it's a very different concept to be able to realize that actually you can buy a program online and you can learn a high income skill, and you can have a career that can pay you hundreds of thousands of pounds or hundreds of thousands of dollars and not have to go to university. And that was a real light bulb moment for me, and I know a real light bulb moment for so many women that I work with, that times are changing and that things aren't the way it used to be. Even my sister, she's in her 30s, and this concept is completely alien to maybe her or her colleagues or her friends, because even that generational gap of 5-6 years, things have really changed. And less people are opting for the university route, and less people are opting for that quote unquote safe path because it's no longer safe. So yeah, basically the point of this is, whether you followed that linear, like that safe, done what you were supposed to do or not, you'll find that if it doesn't feel right for you, if it doesn't sit right for you, there actually is another option out there. And yes, it's going to go against the grain that you were brought up to believe, but it's really just about finding a high income skill that can pay you for what you're worth and for the effort that you put in, so you can build a life on your terms. And your 20s is about experimenting with that. When I was creating this video and I really reflected on where I was at a couple years ago when I was 22, 23, I felt so stuck, and it wasn't because I was incapable or not smart enough or not hardworking enough. It's because I didn't have the vehicle. I didn't have that one skill that could actually help me accelerate my career. I didn't have that education needed to do things differently and to really build a life on the new way of doing things, the remote education, online education way. I didn't have that. And I remember when I discovered this concept, I was scared. I was petrified. And I speak to women all the time who feel that way and think that's negative and think that means they shouldn't do it. But trust me, that's the reason you should do it. But I remember thinking, I am more scared to stay the same and to live whatever life this is and end up wherever I do, than to just try and to just have that one skill that is going to change everything for me. And I tried and quit and tried and quit and tried and quit countless of times. And I knew I was never going to stop trying and quitting until I found the thing that worked for me. And you shouldn't be either. You shouldn't be afraid of change and challenge, because that's what's going to turn you into the woman that you want to be. That's what's going to give you the life that you want. Because nothing changes if nothing changes. You know what your life will look like if you stay in the same career. Maybe you have up to a 30k a year pay rise at best. But imagine if life was in your hands, and imagine if you had your skill in your hands that no one could take away from you. And that is what I discovered with high ticket sales. And when I was able to really hone that skill, I was the first one in, the last one out. Because as I said, I wasn't shy of hard work. I had the work ethic. I just didn't have the vehicle. I was able to outwork everyone else. And I was able to really go from 0 to 10k a month, from 10k a month to 30k a month, and so on and so forth, because I knew what I wanted and I wasn't going to stop until I got there. And if you're watching this right now, you most likely feel the same, because there's a reason that you would have clicked on this video. It's because you know what you want, but you're most likely just scared to try it. And like I said, it's just going back to having that one life. We have women who have gone from hairdressers, optometrists, teachers, admin, nurses, who have gone from being in a career that was okay but didn't fulfill them to making 10, 20, 30k a month in a matter of 6 months. Was it easy? No. Was it simple? Yes. It's just all about having the right vehicle and not being in your comfort zone. And I was actually speaking to my best friend the other day who's thinking about relocating, and she was like, but I'm scared, and this, that, the other. And I remember saying, but you have one life. You don't want to look back in regret in 20, 30 years and actually feel unhappy with where you're at. But the reason that you didn't take a step was because you were scared. Because you will regret that. You will regret looking back when you're in your 40s and you have your mortgage and you have your kids, and not just living life to the full when you have the opportunity to, when it comes at literally no risk. So if you're going to take anything actionable away from this video, think about what restarting actually looks like. Envision what your dream life is. Write it down. This is exactly what I did. Where I want to live, who I want to be surrounded by, the money I want to make, the purpose I want to have, the lifestyle I want to live, how I want to feel, and then work backwards, reverse engineer what that would look like, reverse engineer what income that would take, what action that would take. And if you can't achieve that exact dream life with the current job that you are in now, if you have to make sacrifices, then maybe that's your answer. And that's exactly what I did that really helped me understand what kind of job would I need to do to be able to have the lifestyle I want, to be able to give back to my family, to be able to not answer to anyone. And when I was able to reverse engineer and she'd be like, okay, I need to earn this much money a month to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I need to be here to feel here. I need to be surrounded by this person to feel this. When you really get granular and really take things and take your life into your own hands, you're going to see the power of what change can actually create and how your life can literally do a 180 in 6 months. It doesn't take years. We're taught that everything will happen in the years. I used to think I'll be a millionaire when I'm 30, 40, 50, 60 because that's just what happens. That's just how long it takes. It's not true. You can build your dream life and change in a matter of 90 days if you just took action. And that is what it's about. It's taking action. So, to summarize, I would highly, highly recommend reverse engineer your dream life. Does your dream life correlate to where you are now and the career and the choices that you are making? If it's not, change needs to happen. No one is going to save you. It is you against you. This is your life. And the quote that has changed my life, that I'm eternally grateful for: if you want what you have never had, you must do what you have never done. Life begins on the other side of the fear. Your confidence will grow. You're not meant to have confidence overnight. You're in your 20s. It is okay to try things and for them not to work out. It's okay to pivot, and it is okay to go against the grain of what everyone else is telling you to do if you truly feel in the pit of your stomach that you are not where you're supposed to be. I'll see you in the next one.